So, hey family, friends, everybody. Excuse the fact that I look like shit. I look like shit. But as you might be able to see a little bit, I've been doing a lot of art projects, DIY stuff, and I've been putting up, here's what I've been doing, and here's the materials that I've used. But I realized that I never quite showed you guys how to use something like Rub and Buff, which I think I put back in my office, so hold that thought. Bing! So I buy these on eBay because I don't know where a local craft store is, and with big business screwing over its employees, I am really picky about who I do business with. So eBay is just the better option for me. Not to mention the most valuable thing in my world right now is time. So here's the thing. This is metal, but Rub and Buff does great on everything, including plastic. Now you want to watch out for the higher oil content plastics toward the rubber side, because things just don't stick well to that. So if you have a substance like that, you're definitely going to want to go grab some sandpaper, at least 220 grit or above. 600 grit works really well. A fine grit, unless you want something really textured, and then you can go lower and do that. I can link for anybody who is curious about the different types of sandpaper and what they do. There are great user guides online. So just let me know and I'll link to that. So this is the crown. I've had this for a couple of years now, just sitting in the box. And as you can see, it kind of got squished during the exodus from hell. And eventually, this is going to look way cooler than that, but these are going to be affixed to the bottom of the crown for my upcoming costume for the death of winter, because fuck you, winter, fuck you. So take this out of the box. Listen to that god-awful noise. Sorry about that. Take the tines. So this is a cheap pot metal, I'm guessing. Zinc is really popular in China because it's cheap. So I'm going to guess that this is a zinc base. Now what you can do with Rub and Buff is you can do this a number of ways. If you like the base color, which I do not, my costume is going for a monochrome because it's going to be the representation of winter dying. So for that purpose, this brown, not going to do. It's actually an okay-ish copper. So, you know, definitely take a look at your base color. You can do this a number of ways. You can get a metal adhering spray paint and spray paint the base to change it, or you can do what I'm about to do, which is the first old rag layer of Rub and Buff to change its color. Now what I'm going to do is for the look, depending on what you want, this is black Rub and Buff, kind of thick, as you can see in between, maybe. Sorry about the crap lighting. With pewter on it, and then I decided to go ahead and do a black ebony over that for the start and end of the horns. I'm sure they probably have names, because everything has a name, but we're just going to call it the start and the end of the horns. So it gives it that look. But if you want something different, like this sign, you can see that depending on how you view it, it picks up the colors and the kind of burnished metal look. This I started with silver and then overlaid the ebony and then overlaid the silver on that, touched up the ebony, and it was about 3 layers. So how much you're going to use per project and the way you're going to layer those colors is really going to depend on what you're doing and what you want the outcome to be. So rather than applying it directly to this metal and you're going to want to mix the tubes well first. Some Rub and Buffs come wonderfully mixed. Some of them come liquidy. Some of them, like the Ebony, come just kind of in a glob. And so let it warm in your hand as you mix it. Squeeze a tube, kind of like it was your last bit of toothpaste, and then let's do this. And then just start rubbing it in to your metal. Now you can already see that this makes a really, really nice color. So if you're changing the color of something and you want its base color to show through, you've got that option. If you're going for a more thoroughly changed coloring, which I am, you're probably going to want to do this in a couple of steps, 2 or 3 or something like that. The amount you'll use is greatly dependent on the area that you're working in. You don't need a lot. So this is coming out a little liquidy now since I mixed it. So just a little bit, and then just take it and rub it in. I can hear in my mind several people I know cracking some very lewd jokes about that. So just rub it in, and then I will do the tops of the tines since they are more delicate individually. That, and while I don't particularly care for these washcloths, they make great crafting cloths, and I don't really want them with holes. But see, you can tell that getting it into the stamping and the embossing is going to require more than one application. And the reason that I'm not using a metal adhering spray paint, which would actually make this easier, is that number one, I don't happen to have one. Number two, because this is already colored, I would have to sand it, and I don't really want to do that because this is delicate enough that I would have to actually sand it by hand. Number three, did I mention I don't really want to? I'd like the very tarnished, kind of smoky black, going to gray look that the Rub and Buff allows me to achieve, where that would be a little difficult with traditional spray paints. So you're going to want to do the outside and the inside. And that glob came out a little less mixed than I would have wanted, but that's okay. Now, with Rub and Buff, first of all, if you're taking a shower, do it after. Just trust me on this. It doesn't end well. But if you do happen to get it onto your walls or, well, I don't know about matte surfaces, but just a paper towel and some water, maybe some dish soap, will take it right off. Now, speaking of, because this isn't dry yet, we're going to go ahead and let that dry. Yes, I know it's 4 o'clock. Thank you. All right, so we're going to let this dry on top of its box, and I will record part 2 later. See, definitely hit your shower afterward. Okay.